right, welcome back. In this video here, we're going to start getting into dragons. And let me just say, before we get started, it's kind of a little running joke with me. People always used to pick on me for being long-winded. And I will say, even in my classes, and I will say this, guys, when it comes to biblical stuff and the stuff that you hear me go into, you'll notice one thing. I tend to go pretty deep into the subject matter. It's because I want people to learn. I've always been one that's been a fan of expository teaching. Now, what that means is you expound, you broaden the definition of whatever the subject may be. And I really believe that there may be a time for topical messages. You're given a very brief definition of it, and then you move on. But then there's those times that it's really important to tear apart the subject, get down into it, and dig into all the meanings of it. And so that tends to be the way I learn. I like to be taught, and it tends to be the way I research whatever the material may be. But in the book of Nehemiah, chapter 8, verse 8, it says, "So they read in the book in the law of God distinctly, and gave the sense and caused them to understand the reading." Now, what they're saying here, they gave the sense, is they gave the meaning of the passage, and they caused the people that were learning to understand it. And so, if you want to learn more about that, read that chapter there, and it'll touch you. Every time I read this chapter, it almost makes me tear up. I really start to tear up sometimes, because the people, when they started to understand what the law of God was, and that they had not been keeping it, that they began to weep and cry, to the point that the Levites and Nehemiah and Ezra, they had to calm the people down, because they wept uncontrollably. And they were trying to encourage them and say, no, don't weep. Do not be sorrowful, because, your God is strong. He's strong, and he's an encourager. He loves you. He cares about you. And he's not angry with you or mad at you. And so, but the people, when they understood the verse, then they really understood where they fell at, and where they were at fault as far as the law of God. And I believe that's the way people should come to the Lord. There should not be that proud, cocky look when somebody comes to the Lord. When you come to the Lord, you're crawling on your knees, bawling your eyes out. And so I'm not saying you have to come that way, but in your spirit, there should be no proud or cocky attitude. And so, because and when you stand before the Lord, you are nothing, just a big pile of filthy rags is all you are, everything that you do. And so I don't want anybody to think any highly of me. So if you put your confidence in me, I'm going to let you down. I'm just going to go ahead and let you know that right off. But guys, if you'll notice on the screen here, this is from a display built by Sir Richard Owen. Thomas Hawkins sold his fossils to the British Museum, now the Natural History Museum. But it says here that this is an ichthyosaur. Ichthyosaur. It's too small. You probably can't read it, but the lower left-hand portion of the screen, you'll see a little card that says ichthyosaur. On the right-hand side, that's what it looks like. It looks a lot like a dolphin. Now, let me say this before we go any further. Let me show you some things. What I'm going to be showing you when we start getting into some of the artifacts and stuff, some of them will come from a guy by the name of Vance Nelson. Now, he has a creation ministry. If you'll notice on the screen, I'll have this. Just go to his website, and you can learn more. He does travel around and does presentations. He used to have a traveling museum where he would set up at churches and buildings and stuff like that. I know that he sold a good portion of that, but he's only keeping only portions of that that he can use when, I guess, when he's speaking at some of his lectures and stuff like that. But go to his website and you can learn more and get some of these books that I'm going to show you. But this one here is called Dragons, Dire Dragons, and he's got a series called Untold Secrets of Planet Earth. Untold Secrets of Planet Earth. This is one of his books here. It's called Dire Dragons. Another one is called Flood Fossils. Flood Fossils. This again is by Vance Nelson. Vance Nelson. He has another one that's called Monumental Monsters. Monumental Monsters. You know, some of the gigantic fossils that's been found. And so really all these books are real thick, and there's just absolutely just packed full of information. And he did one here called Caves, Catastrophic Caves. Catastrophic Caves. And so this guy here, I really respect his research. He really does really good research, and I've been able to speak with him over the phone and have email communications with him about questions that I have and stuff like that. And I really appreciate him taking his time to talk to me and give me insight. This one here is called the Amazon Expedition. The Amazon Expedition, and we're going to talk about one of the things the main thing that he talks about in this one here, where he found a picture of what could be a dinosaur. And so, but we'll get into that, and I don't want to rabbit trail too much more, but again, Vance Nelson, and this is him right there on the cover there, if you see that. That's Vance there, and so great guy, highly intelligent fella, and like I said, he's a hands-on guy. He likes to go to where these locations are, and he likes to see the stuff for himself, and so great guy. He's one of the guys that I like to go to, one of the first places I like to go to if I want to get any more information on dinosaur type artifacts and stuff like that. And so, but check him out. But some of the things that you see here came from his books. And so, great researcher. I highly advise you guys to check him out. You'll really learn a lot. But going back here, if you'll notice here, this is an ichthyosaur. This is from that one display. It means fish lizard. The average size varies from 6 to 13 feet long, though 50 and 70 foot fossils have been found. So that's what ichthyosaur looks like. It looks a lot like a dolphin. On the outside, they look like a fish. The skeleton showed that they were reptilian. Now, this here is some different types of ichthyosaur. This is a Shonisaurus, and it's 50 feet long. Looks really wild. And then there's a fossil of it down below. This is another one. If you notice, it's almost 50 feet long. 30 tons. And this is a Shastasaurus. Again, this is one here is about 69 feet long, almost 70 feet. 75 tons. So they were a pretty good size. Now, if you'll notice on this display here that I showed you earlier, right there at the bottom, now this is a flipper of the ichthyosaur. This is just a flipper. It says sea drag. That is sea dragon. You see that? They called them dragons. Now, in 1840, Thomas Hawkins wrote a book entitled The Book of the Great Sea Dragons. On the opening page, he wrote Ichthyosauri and Plesiosauri, and it's called Gedolum Tananim of Moses. It's really interesting that he would say that, of Moses. He's trying to tie in the Bible into this. And it's really interesting. When you take dragons and you go into the concordance, it's Tanin. And I was really amazed on this one here. I didn't add anything to this. This is exactly what come from the concordance. This is Thayer's concordance. Sea dragon, number 8577. Tanin. It means, now we notice that highlighted. It says dragon or dinosaur. I was really surprised that was in there. Now, if you'll notice the eight, that what I have circled there, 08565, 08565, I went a little deeper into this, and it says maybe the extinct dinosaur, the plesiosaurus. So that made my eyebrows even raise up even more. So I was really amazed that they actually had that in the concordance. But that just goes to show you guys that that the dragons is more. There's more to it. There's more to it than just the word itself. Conrad Gessner. Or Gessner. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. 1516 to 1565. He was a Swiss naturalist, a bibliographer, a botanist, a physician, and a classical linguist. He published a 4-volume encyclopedia, which was 4,500 pages from 1551 to 1558, entitled History, I hope I'm going to pronounce this right, Animalium, considered to be the first modern zoological work. A science writer named Anna Pavord commented about this gentleman. She said he was a one-man search engine, a 16th century Google with the added bonus of critical evaluation. And so, this guy here, this is before smartphones and the internet and the entertainment, some of the modern entertainment that we have. People studied more. They read books. And so they had more time to think. But this is what he says about dragons. He said that they were very rare, but still living creatures. And so very amazing to come from such a gentleman. Now, the Bible in Isaiah 43:20, it puts dragons as living with contemporary with other animals. The beast of the field shall honor me, the dragons and the owls, because I give waters in the wilderness and rivers in the desert to give drink to my people, my chosen. And so, dragons and the owls, the dragons and the owl. And so, now when we think about dragons, you think about that, the fantasy, the fire-breathing dragon flying and terrorizing the community. And so, but what about this one right here? Look at this fossil. Now, they named it Dracorex hogwartsia. And it was discovered in 2004 in the Hell Creek Formation in South Dakota. Now, check it out, guys. Look at the head on this thing. Look at the horns. It looks like what you would call, your stereotypical dragon that you would see on movies and stuff with the spiked horns. And so this is what they said about it. More like a dragon. It's a new type of dinosaur that looks like a dragon. When we saw this creature's head, we weren't sure what kind of dinosaur it was. Its spiky horns, bumps, and a long muzzle look more like a dragon. It was donated to the Children's Museum in Indianapolis. And so, take a look at that. I'm sure they got that name, Dracorex hogwartsia, probably from Harry Potter. And so, but going on, check a look at that. You got the drawing on the left, and then you got Dracorex hogwartsia on the right. You kind of start to wonder, how did these people get their idea what a dragon looked like? And so, very, very interested. Now, we're going to look at Dracorex hogwartsia in just a minute, because is that a full-grown individual, or was it a young individual that was morphing into something else? And I'm about to show you. If you notice on the next slide, the very top is Dracorex hogwartsia, or just what they call Dracorex. It's a young juvenile. The next stage, they believe the next stage in this animal was the middle one. Now, I'm going to try to pronounce that, but it's Stygimoloch. It's an older juvenile, but if you'll notice the head is starting to get a little bit thicker, and then the back where the horns are start to fall back. Now, the adult one was, I'm going to try to pronounce this to you guys, Pachycephalosaurus. That's an adult. Now, what they're saying is the young Dracoryx had a spongy skull. The middle one still had the spongy skull, but the solid skull was when it was an adult. That's when the skull came together. There was no sponge. It was solid. So they believe that the Dracoryx is nothing more than just a young juvenile of the Pachycephalosaurus is what that is. And so 15 feet long, and this is what it would have looked like. And so you're talking, if you notice the horns in the back, notice the horns in the back have laid down. So if it was, imagine if that was the younger version, the Dracoryx, it would have been, the horns would have been more, they would have came up. They would have came up a little bit. So I can kind of see where they're coming from there. Now the actual bump on its head was 9 inches thick. 9 inches thick, probably for ramming other imposing animals in the area. And so now a Triceratops, here's another one. Now what you normally see on a Triceratops, its skull was spongy. Now the Torosaurus they believe is the adult to the Triceratops. Its skull was not spongy. The frill, that back part, that back shell, that big shell looking thing, that's that frill along the back of the horns, was enlarged further and had developed holes. Only this what they see here is only found as a large specimen. They only see this. They don't see a younger form of the Torosaurus, is what they're saying. What they believe is that Triceratops is just a young version of the Torosaurus. That Triceratops would eventually grow into a Torosaurus because they were looking at the skull. The skull was spongy, though the Torosaurus, being the adult, but they're theorizing that the Torosaurus is the adult version of the Triceratops because its skull was solid. It was not spongy. And so now, this is just something I'm just going to throw in also. The Nanotyrannus. The Nanotyrannus, now the skin there, the skin patterns, all that is just an artist's rendition. They have found dinosaurs, and we're going to look at that later, where they can see patterns in the skin. No color, but they can see patterns in the skin, and they do believe that those patterns probably had a coloration to them. And so, but the pattern that you're seeing here in this Nanotyrannosaurus, or this Nanotyrannus, is just an artist rendition of it. But they believe the Nanotyrannus is a younger version of the Tyrannosaurus Rex. And so, again, it's just growing into that. Again, all we're finding is just fossils. And so, but now they said researchers analyzed the bones and teeth of 37 T-Rex specimens, concluding that the lizard king, T-Rex, might have had two cousins. T-Rex may need to be regrouped into 3 separate species. And so, now, that doesn't mean 3 different kinds. It's still the same kind of animal, but it would be like the cat. You'd have like a cat. There would be you've got different variations of cat, but it's still the cat. That's what they're saying here. It may need to be regrouped into 3 separate species, all looking the same, but there's 3 different variations of a T-Rex is what they're saying. But at any rate, guys, we're going to stop right there. I got about 19 minutes on this one. It don't take long to add it up. And so, but hey, I try. But again, what's the hurry? View what you can, and then later on come back and watch the rest of it. But I'm going to tell you this right now. If you are one of these people that are confused about the whole dinosaur and man topic, you are going to get some answers here. And I'm going to be pointing you into different ministries and different authors and books and what have you to get better understanding. Guys, don't go through this life questioning the Bible based upon dinosaurs. I'm telling you, God created these animals. God should get the glory for these animals. He took them on the ark. God didn't say about anything at all about leaving any animals off the ark. And so he just told them how many to put of each type, of each kind. And so, but, you know, I don't want to get too far off on that, or it's going to be a 25 or 30-minute long video. But, you know, watch these videos. You know, don't just push it off to the side. And so, because this stuff right here, people are losing their faith because of this stuff. I've talked to them, guys. And there's people that are just really confused about the topic. And so share this information with individuals that you know that either you've tried to talk to, that try to debate you. Let me do the talking for you. Just share the information. Download it. Use it what you want. Download it. Edit out what you don't want to keep, and share it with somebody else. I don't care. You know, none of my stuff's copyrighted. So please feel free to use it as you wish. And so, but I want this stuff to help you guys. And so, do I have an answer for everything that's here? No, I don't. I really don't. But you know what? I'm learning. I'm learning more and more. And so, I just picked up 4 National Geographics. That's got a lot of it. There's several of them in here that's got some dinosaur stuff in it. And believe it or not, you can learn some real good information. Now, this is not a Christian publication. And so this is secular. All you're going to hear is evolution through this stuff. But you know what? There's some good stuff in here that you can learn. And there's stuff in here that I can show where they err at, and where the Bible, or where you take the different views at. You got a biblical worldview and a secular worldview. And I can show you where they talk about a secular worldview in here, and then I put it into a biblical worldview, and you see it in a completely different way. And so, but guys, I hope you've enjoyed it. Take your time, go through it. All my other material is on, just start going through my past videos. And you can also go to my YouTube channel, which is strictly about creation and biblical topics, called The Journey in Between. And that's got all my other stuff on there also. And so, but God bless you. I love you. And you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.